Hello, how are you doing? It's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. Across the Red River is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. And in this pot in my kitchen is and I'm using the Gotham steel that I already have. I'm not even using the new Gotham steel yet because this is, this is fine. I'm going to break that out maybe in February when I'm having a dinner party around the 9th of February. And so I'll break out the newer stuff then. But this is a sauce, a velouté, uh, you may call it. It's one of the mother French sauces. And how I created it, um, with a velouté with mirepoix, meaning a light sauce created from a roux and stock, a light stock, either some cases from fish or, um, shrimp or any kind of a light stock chicken. And in this case, what I used to create this, um, and I added the vegetables, but without the vegetables, it would still be a velouté. So this is a velouté with mirepoix. Uh, and then I um, added a few more things to actually turn it into a sort of a curry flavor um, without the use of cream or without the use of yogurts or anything like that. So, but that was mostly because I really love a good curry flavor. But velouté is what this is closest to a velouté with mirepoix. Uh, and what it is, and there's probably other names for it by the time I've amended it as much as I have this recipe. There's probably already some exotic French names for it, either in French cuisine or either in Indian cuisine, because this is kind of an infusion of both of those, or we get over here in the Caribbean and closer to the southern United States area. We're just a big old blend of cultures, everything from Mexican, Caribbean, Native American, uh, Spanish, French, German, just all of it. So, uh, because everybody just brought everything with them, all their ideas with them, But that was happening even before the Americas. Cultures were spreading and getting intermingled all the way in, before the Americas were discovered. So, infusion of cuisine, to me, always preceded, the way I look at it, in cuisine, it always preceded a change in culture, a blending of culture, and then like art and music, and they preceded a change in attitude. So, if you're looking for world peace, it can be found in the bottom of a stock pot. And so this is me. Being very impetuous on the impetuous chef. I have three leg quarters I need to finish off. So I started with about half a stick of unsalted butter. It's about a quarter of a cup, right, or 2 tablespoons or whatever. Put it in, maybe a little more, little whatever. Eyeball it, whatever. I just and then I put in a corresponding amount of self-rising flour. There was a little bit more in the pot than I wanted of the self-rising flour, so I took some of the flour out and just kind of patted the chicken down with it, just enough to give a chicken a little coating and everything, so that when the chicken goes into the pot, it's not just a naked chicken, but there's a little bit of um, that flour that's going to kind of bind, and maybe it'll help the sauce kind of bind to the chicken too. Who knows, right? Okay, so anyway, what I did was I made like a light roux. Take the butter and the flour, kind of stir it in the bottom of a pan, well enough that you sort of get a little bit of cooking done. But you kind of get that flour. You want that. You don't want the taste of a raw flour. You really want that flour to get kind of fried up a little cooked up in the bottom of the pan. So with that, it was a very thick, almost a dough, but it was like once it got to this nice blondish color, that was good enough for what I'm going to do, because I'm also going to like let this go for a while, because I still have to cook the chicken in here, so it's still going to cook down, but it's well enough that we're not just taking like flour, just raw flour. Okay. Then in the bottom of that, before I added any moisture, I took chopped vegetables. And you can get these, you can chop them yourself if you want. I'm a single person, so I buy the what I call the mirepoix or a Trinity, and it's more of a mirepoix. Trinity is celery, onion, and bell pepper. And when you start adding some other things to it, it becomes mirepoix, means just random chopped vegetables. You know, some people say that the Trinity is celery, carrots, and bell pepper. You know, or any of that, whatever. So if anything like that, whatever. It varies from region to region to region. But for me, especially out of New Orleans and Louisiana, I learned that your Trinity was celery, onion, and bell pepper. Although I do think there are chopped carrots in here as well, and there's bits of other things in here that make this blend of mirepoix, and you can get them out of the freezer section of your grocery store. Simplifies things, and it's great. It's great. A good friend of mine showed me these bags a long time ago, and it's like, yeah, when I have a need for chopped vegetables and I want a time save, I don't mind doing that. Okay, but your purists are going to be like, no, get your vegetables and chop them down. And there's something to be said for that too. Um, you know, but either way, you're going to get a good result. Now you want to, this is, like I said, started with the roux. So I put those in. And then what I did was I put in a little bit of curry powder, probably about a fourth of a cup in the bottom of here. And then also a fourth of a cup of cumin. And that's it. Curry powder, cumin, and the vegetables. And then once I put the powder in, I did add a little bit of moisture because I wanted to get to this thickness. And then as I've been talking, I had the heat turned off, but I just turned it back on because I'm going to show you I can add a little bit of moisture. One more thing I did use. How I got the broth. What turns this from a roux into a velouté is that you can use a chicken broth. What I used was a chicken bouillon with the moisture, and I did put that in at the time that I added the other powders, and I wanted to say that before I forget. So I put in the curry powder. I put in the that's the curry powder, and the cumin. That's what I was drawing a blank on, the cumin. And then I did add in, at this point, I added in an equal amount, about a fourth of a cup of chicken bouillon. But at that point, you would add, if you didn't want to use bouillon and the water, what you would do is you would use a chicken stock or a chicken broth, you know, either that you've rendered from a real chicken or you put out from a can of chicken. Now, if you're doing fish, you can use fish stock. You know, if you're doing shrimp or whatever, and you boiled some shrimp, you can save your shrimp water and add that in here. You know, if you're doing maybe a lobster, you know, I don't do lobster, but if you had like some chopped lobster and you wanted to maybe take your water from your lobster or something like that, you know, whatever. But any sort of stock, any sort of light stock, and you would put in here. And then for you guys who don't mind a little bit of alcohol, you could add this a little bit of white wine at this point. I would not, because I don't cook with alcohol, but that's kind of what you could do here at this point. What I'm going to do in lieu of that is I'm going to add just a touch of balsamic vinegar. Not enough to actually change the color, but enough to give it just a twang of acidity. Any sort of citrus would work as well. And here we go. a couple of drops. That's all that's going to be needed. And it's not even going to change. Um, Now I've got something I want to use, and it's maybe going to deepen the color a little bit, but not too much. Hang on one second. This product right here, I love it. And the more you use, the darker and richer you can get it. I don't want to really change the color too much. Inevitably, that's going to happen. But I do want to get this powerhouse. This is very, very condensed vegetable seasonings that are just basically going to, not that the vegetables aren't already in here, but this is really going to take that vegetable aromatic flavor, and it's really going to help it spread throughout this sauce. So I'm just going to put maybe just a drop in. Not too much would be too much, and you would know. We really only want so much that I almost could shake the lid. Hang on, I put just a little bit of, when I poured some water in, there's always a little bit of water that stays in the bottom of the cup. Well, I poured that water into this lid, and that's all that I want here. That's all that I want. Anything more would be too much for this lighter sauce. And we want to give this a good blending. So it does slightly enrich it. But we don't want to change the color. If there's anything more in this bottom of the glass, and there is, just a touch more, 1 or 2 drops of water. Literally, I'm taking the water that I poured and 1 or 2 drops of water into here. That is it. That's all we want here. I've made the mistake with this stuff of a heavy pour, and it can work, and sometimes you do want more of it, but this is a lighter sauce. I want a light sauce. The reason why I want a light sauce is because I'm going to have this on the side of some leftover pasta that I made last night, But the secret on this is to add the chicken right now and let this go slow. You could do it in a slow cooker if you want to. I'm not. I'm actually going to take my burner and I'm going to turn it down to a low medium, like right in between the medium and the low position. And I'm going to put the chicken in here into this pot, and then I'm just going to let it steep until the chicken is just right, till it's done. Not quite fall off the bone, but very juicy and tender. And that chicken is also going to give us, it's going to render for us some chicken stock and chicken broth from the meat, and some chicken stock from the bone that's inside of the meat, because it's bone-in chicken quarters that I'm working with. I could cut the chicken leg from the chicken thigh and make it easy to serve if I'm having more people over and I want a gentler presentation. But for me, I'm just going to leave the quarter intact. And I've got 3/4 that are going to go in here. So hang on one second. Okay, I added just about a 1/2 cup more water to this, just to make it a little bit more saucy, to keep it from thick. Because remember, this is a roux base, so if the moisture is not in there, it will thicken up. But so this is kind of a medium blonde. I actually could have made this even lighter, and it was lighter. But remember, I put in that browning sauce. That browning element is a kitchen bouquet. Works for browning, but it really is a powerhouse for adding those vegetables. Okay, now it's time to add the chicken. I'm about to really, really wash my chicken bowl and my hands and everything very well. And my hands are clean right now, but I'm really going to wash them well before I do anything else. So I can use my fingers and come right into this pot with this chicken. I'm not going to worry about adding too much water right now. Right now, that's my cat cooking. What you want to do is you want to add your water right now. Cats should have a cooking show. That would be so fun. But anyway, and then, there we go. And what's going to happen as this cooks, it's going to render off the juices, the stock from the bone that's inside, and then and then the broth from the meat as this cooks down. And I'm going to let this go for a good hour and 20 minutes. That should do it because I'm doing this, remember, on a lower setting, kind of a low medium. I'm going to put the lid on. It's going to get hot, but I want to slow cook this. Yeah. So, did you know that you can slow cook on your stove, that you don't need a crock pot? We're so used to like frying and things. We forget that we can, if we want to just go low, we can do that on an electric oven. Particularly, it's almost the same process. Maybe if you have a gas stove, maybe you don't want to, but you could. But with an electric, if you turn on a crock pot, an electric crock pot, you're using an electric bottom anyway. So you may as well just do it on the stove if you don't want to drag out your crock pot and you want to save your crock pot for when you're transporting food to and from. Then at home you actually can use this. So I have a chicken bowl that has a little bit of flour in it and a little bit of yum yum from the chicken. When I'm going to put a little bit of water, and then I'm going to pour it into this pot, into this bowl. And then I'm just going to cap it with the lid, and that's going to be it. But I'm not really going to worry about showing you. It's maybe I'll add about another half a cup of moisture to this. It's not a big step to worry about. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video now. Basically, I'm just doing that so I can I don't want to lose any flavors from this chicken, and this little bit of flavor in the bottom of this bowl as the chicken was sitting for about 20 or so minutes while I did this sauce. It's picked up a lot of flavor, and I don't want to lose that. In French cuisine, you don't waste anything. You use everything that you possibly can. There we go. Putting the lid on it. Where is the lid? Right here. Putting the lid on it. What's great about this that I got I got to really go there and wash this hand. But it's really great is that if I wanted to, I could steam some vegetables. And a little bit, this pot comes with this steamer. And if I wanted to lay some vegetables on top of this, when it's done, then I could steam my vegetables and get all those flavors in my vegetables as well. I won't need to do that today. I'm going to pause the video. We will come back after about 120 minutes. And this will be done. Oh, let me so totally correct myself. Not 120 minutes. 1 hour and 20 minutes. Oh boy. So about 80 minutes. 80 minutes. And this should be done. See, you gotta be careful. If I told you to cook, you could slow cook this probably really and go for 120 minutes. And then you'd be able to take the bones right out of this and you'd have a really, really wonderful dark meat chicken soup. But if you want the chicken to stay on the bone well enough to work with it, go for about 80 minutes on low medium. Okay. And if you need to adjust after that, you can. But I really need to get this chicken off of my hands. Love you guys. So as I'm waiting for that chicken, I'm going to pull this out and check it out. This is something worth checking out. That's a little better. So I went and I don't know if this thing had ever been like wiped out from the time that we got it. Now, my mother started ordering these in the 1980s, maybe even earlier than that. And everything's out of sequence, but let's check this out. Group 8, card 15. I don't know how many groups there are, but this tells us a little bit about olive oil, huh? Choose the highest quality olive oil. Well, I find, that's a good thing that you can do if you're rolling in the dough, so to speak. Olive oil can help build strong fingernails and soften cuticles. Well, we used to use this when we used to use a little warm olive oil when I did manicures as a cosmetologist, so that part is true. But also, this is about recipe cards that my mother's collected, and I'm just going to go through them all. But this is the first thing that goes here. I'm basically just going to try to organize these. Bake Off. Free recipe number 2. Free recipe number 1. Turkey and bow tie salad. Well, why not? This, not for people who are, watching their glutens. Is the celiac disease the same thing as people who can't tolerate gluten? Or they, whatever, I don't know. But this seems like something you could easily adjust to suit your own thing. Now, this is something that we've done. Some friends of ours, we would take like any kind of small pasta, spirals, bow tie, smaller macaroni, larger macaroni, anything, and put in the couple of things that we'd like. Those mirepoix vegetables, small chopped vegetables. Yeah. And, you know, uh, could work. Probably you'd want fresher vegetables, but you could take those out and then thaw them out. The reason why you need to thaw them, and you would take them and you would put them in a paper towel or something like that, and you would get them as dry as possible, and then put them with your pasta, very drained, cooked pasta, but drained, and then you could toss them with a little bit of mayonnaise. Um, I wouldn't necessarily think you would need the yogurt, but you could blend that in with your mayonnaise, or you could just use a twist of lemon or something like that. Uh, I don't know. Today, I would maybe not add the yogurt. Um, yeah, what I would do is instead of the asparagus, I would use the mirepoix. Well, here it is: chopped bell pepper, and a little bit of with the bell pepper, I would add in the onion and the celery. Those are great things that would work with this. So, and then yeah, so that's cool. This recipe is a keeper. Free recipe, and I would say a damn good one. You could use this with anything if you wanted to. You could use those asparagus, you could use the asparagus. Uh, you could use anything, very, oh, you know what? Shavings of some carrots would liven this up a little bit, give it a good color to um, anything like that. These are things that I maybe wouldn't have eaten as a small child, but I would try now. And this is this one, damn, praline brookies. What the hell is that? Oh, well, you see these all the time and we think that it's new. Surprise, no. This is a brownie cookie, a brookie. That's the word for it here. Well, you've seen the mixes, and oh my God, how cute is a cookie and a brownie. That's what I did. I had forgotten all about this, or maybe just my mother and her infant. She was like, I'm not doing all that shit. Yeah. My mother could cook, but she cooked for a living. Um, she started out working uh, at the drink stand of this cafeteria. And then when the drink stand became self-service, uh, she just stayed on and worked up and down the food line in this cafeteria, and then ended up being a chef, and then ended up being a head of her own department, which was kind of cool. So yeah, so if you've ever wondered what this was called, it's called a brookie, and that's kind of cool. This is a keeper. These two free recipes are a keeper. Well, honestly, I'm going to cook all of these, but what I'm going to do is go through and I'm going to organize them into my favorites, the ones that I would like to use more often, and then we'll see. What is this, headaches? It's like a cure for a headache. Yes, here's a recipe for a headache. Oh, yes. Well, as a cosmetologist, um, I also studied and became a reflexologist. A cosmetologist and a reflexologist is someone who maybe will do, yeah, it's a type of massage in which you massage the extremities of the body, the hands and the feet, to bring relaxation and relief to the rest of the body, and even sometimes internal organs, depending upon, the fact of the matter is that uh, there's a little bit of truth to it, but you're not going to alleviate if your internal organs, if you're feeling pain in your internal organs, then you really do need to see a physician and find out what's going on, especially if it's a recurring thing. Like if you have tremendous headaches, you need to think about that. Now I don't know what their treatments or remedies for or whatever. Maybe it's just talking about it. A helpful headache remedy: run yourself a warm bath to alleviate tension. Yes, that's tension headache. Um, Chamomile. Yeah, these are great. A little bit of aromatherapy works here too. It's very soothing. That's early on. That's a real deal. That's a real thing. That's going to go right up here in the front there. Okay, I see some beef stroganoff. I know this is good. I'm going to try to organize these. But see, I would probably be, for me, what is this? Okay, I need to maybe get someone with a vacuum cleaner to come over and vacuum the hell out of my couch. All of my couches. I'd be worth like probably $50 to have somebody come over and do that. If I had 50 extra bucks, bring your vacuum cleaner and vacuum the hell out of all my couches. Okay, beef stroganoff. Now, beef stroganoff typically has mushroom in the beef. I'm not really a mushroom fan. As a matter of fact, I suspect that I'm allergic to mushroom. I have a lot of food allergies, and anytime I mess around with mushrooms, I end up breaking out. Um, so I used to, for a while, when I was growing up, you couldn't have gotten me to eat mushrooms. If I'd have known there were mushrooms, I wouldn't eat them. If I wouldn't eat it, if I thought there was, even truffle fries or anything like that, I just wouldn't. And then it was like, well, I can have mushrooms if they're in a sauce, if they're they'll fill out. They're really great flavor to add to marinara sauce, or what I've learned to call a bolognese sauce, which is a red sauce that is meat based. But what I would typically want to do is I would want to make this as is, but without the mushrooms. And that's a keeper. That's gonna kind of go in this. That's gonna go in this file here. This one I'll never use. This is a bean soup type recipe. I would never use it, but it's part of it, so I'll keep it. It's been so long. I have no idea why some of these cards are blue and some of them are. Oh, but they maybe just like skillet meals or something like that. Maybe, because here's a pot pie. So I'm going to be less about these. Like, here's something else I would never have. And I would never eat that. And I would never eat that. But I would eat this. This is going to go into a file that part of the file I'm going to keep up front, regardless of the color. And then the rest of these would just go into their regular color, regardless of whether I would, let's see. Oh, hi, yes. Butter horns. They're croissants. They're croissants, really. The secret to a croissant is to roll the dough out and then put your butter down, right? You put your butter down in between the layers of the dough, and then you just keep rolling the dough and fold it over a couple of times and roll it out, then fold it, roll it out. And fold. It's very similar to a puff pastry dough. But you would do that a couple of times, and then roll it out finally really, really thin, and then cut it into your triangle shape, and then you could roll it into your triangle, and then you get your butter horns. But your grandma's butter horns today are smaller versions of a French croissant, and these are basically, you can buy Pillsbury, and but I'll keep these. These are lovely. I might want to show off one day. Oatmeal raisin cookies. Perhaps, why is he stuck together? God, it's like the magazines I used to read as a teenager. So oatmeal raisin cookies. And I would absolutely, oh, look at this. You know, as a novelty, I could see trying these out. But what I would really love to try would be these without the currants or the raisins. You could use currants or raisins or something like that. Cranberries. I would prefer cranberries rather than raisins. But it's a very flexible recipe, it looks like. So, you know. Oh, I think people also put a chocolate. Yeah, well, there it is. White chocolate chips, whatever. A good cookie recipe of any type is very flexible. I'll put everything that I like here, and then I'll sort it through. I had a feeling there's going to be a lot more in here that I like than what I think. Let me go check on the chicken real quick. Hang on. All right, we're about 35 minutes out from this chicken being done. I just wanted to show you that the chicken is about halfway done. And want to give it just a little bit of a good, move the pieces around a little bit. Kind of take your spatula or whatever, and if it's possible, make sure you're lifting all the flavors, all the droppings, everything from the pan droppings and everything like that, the drippings or droppings, whatever. Make sure that you're doing whatever you can to lift it from the bottom. Even a non-stick pan, quote unquote, non-stick pan will have a tendency to stick just a little. When you get ready, if you're working with something like this, and you do have something that sticks, even though it's not really, it really shouldn't. The secret is to put a little bit of water into the pan, then heat it up, and that water will lift it from the bottom of the pan just as surely as if you were deglazing a meal with the stickings on the bottom of a pan that you were deglazing with wine that lifts it up. Well, you literally can do that with water, and it will lift it out of your cookware, non-stick or otherwise, and make it easier to clean. But while it's cooking, go ahead and take your utensil, safe utensil, so, and basically touch the bottom of that pan and make sure that you're kind of not letting this clump too much on the bottom and cling to the bottom. You want those flavors floating around in your sauces. You don't want them browning up on the bottom of your pan. So I remember in the 80s, my mother joining this recipe club that they sent these with all sorts of knickknacks, and they were a little bitty. Every once in a while, they would send a utensil, a pan or pot or pan or something like that. I don't know what happened to a lot of that. But I remember thinking she would get these and she'd look at them, and it was just nice that it's one of the first things, I'll tell you. The simple world of the 1980s, and I love my father and I love my mother, and I never take sides when they were together or separated, but they got together and separated quite frequently until after I was an adult, and they decided to really, just call it quits and kind of really just, remain friendly with each other, but allow each other to go their separate ways. So Halloween, I don't know the full story. I don't know. It doesn't not my business. I don't care. But this was Yeah, my mother, she had uh, gotten her job at the newly separated, and she had gotten her job at the cafeteria where she worked, and this was one of the first things that she bought for herself. And this was, she just wasn't someone who bought a lot of stuff for herself before then. There, first of all, there wasn't the money. It was like everything was for the family or something like that. So she would see something like this, and these are like guidelines in which you could use, so we can make your cookie dough, and then you could use this to shape out your cookie dough. I don't know what they're templates. I don't know what I guess you can use them to eyeball and get a shape to give yourself creativity. uh, I don't know why that one's double lined or whatever, but whatever. Here's an apple, and this is another type of gourd. I guess it was just whatever. But there's bats. You could use it for pumpkins. Apple, or whatever. Could be a pumpkin, ghost, whatever. How neat is that? That's one of the things I'm going to put up front. I'm going to take the things that are non-recipes, and I'm going to put them in the front. Then there was, really did vacuum this couch. Then there was, this is one of the things. And then, of course, she bought a big thing that she was financing was probably got it from a secondhand store or something like that. It was one of these console radios. It was it was like a cabinet, probably about the size of a small love seat. And the top of it had a turntable, like a record player. And then there was a radio. And then there was a cassette player. And then there was an 8-track player. And the speakers were good and everything like that. And that's how audio, stereo equipment and television equipment were back then. They were basically furnitures because they were huge, and even boom boxes hadn't gotten. They were just starting to come out where you could do the put a cassette, but they were still big. They hadn't really gotten to the Walkman stage yet. That's your personalized cassette tape with the radio, but the sound wasn't wonderful. In order to have great sound, you needed a stereo system, and people would go crazy with it. Like people would love, seriously, if you really want a good example of it, watch the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and the segment where Judge Reinhold is working in the stereo department, and that's how people really took to their stereos, and this was around that time. And so this was, but this wasn't like an elaborate purchase. It's just, it was that first thing that she got this recipe card at some point, but she was, paying for that. And that was it was really beautiful. It was a really beautiful thing. And then later on for the house, she got a washer and dryer. And as soon as we were able to get that washer and dryer in there, and I think maybe my dad may have, would maybe have gotten the washer and dryer, but I think they were new. But as soon as they got back there, then we got the word that the interstate was going to come through the Southern Avenue route where we lived, and we were going to end up having to move due to eminent domain situation. So otherwise, if not, we'd probably still be in that house. Some of us, that was a beautiful neighborhood to grow up in. There were we lived in one of it was like a shotgun kind of thing. So maybe you get big dreams and you want to move on or something like that. I don't know. But as a kid, I loved it. I thought it was great. There was something secure in your neighborhood. I even didn't mind the neighborhood bullies that lived around the corner. I kind of sort of did, but then I didn't. They were friends sometimes, and then they were bullies other times. And then later on in life, we acquainted with each other, and we just became kind of extended family for a while. But anyway, we had a couple of babysitters that lived around there. But yeah, we lived in a shotgun, and then the landlady lived in the other duplex that right next to it. And then next door there was a home that would have been a shotgun, but it had been converted into one large house. And they were family friends that we called Uncle Betty and Aunt Bill, and their daughter Cherie. And then they had a son, uh, an older son. I want to say his name was Ricky. I don't know. I draw a blank or something like that. It was so long ago, but boy, that little neighborhood, that was a big home, and that's kind of what this is reminding me of. It's that little trip going down there. I'm gonna like sort through some more of these recipes, and when I come back, I'll have some a little story about whatever, something blah blah blah. Certainly, the chicken will be close to being done. Now, see, this is stuff that I want to see. This Hardy Party Reuben bites. What I would do is I would leave the alfalfa sprouts out, or if I had just a couple, maybe whatever, just kind of like laid across. But I wouldn't necessarily bind it to the sauce. And this is a Reuben snack. Basically, it's on rye bread with the Thousand Island dressing, but I probably would use something else. And then, like, I don't know, a Thousand Island dressing is basically um, the it's basically, oh, you know what I would use? Yum Yum sauce. Uh, or that's a brand name of it, but it's basically you take a little bit of mayo, a touch of ketchup, and then add your little seasonings to it, whatever. Kind of dress it up, make it your own. Maybe a little bit of spice, or maybe a little twist of something, I don't know. But yeah, I would probably, for this, maybe Thousand Island dressing, but you wouldn't necessarily need to buy the Thousand Island dressing if you had a little bit of mayo and a little bit of ketchup in your pantry already. You could just pull that together yourself. But but anyway, and the thing here is that these Reuben bites do not have a touch of cabbage. If you had a little bit of shredded cabbage for coleslaw or something like that, you could add just a touch of that on top of the pastrami, preferably if it were in the slaw, because I don't think it would be good. It's just uh, a cabbage of itself. But if you have maybe, I'm not a cabbage person, but I could use that if you wanted to. But I could see it as an appetizer for an interesting. I'm going to save that and put it among the things that I would use. This is the kind of stuff that, yay, I would like to see more of. So far, this is my pile of hell no, I won't use it. And this is my pile of things that I might use with this is a ice cream sandwich shaped like bats for Halloween and stuff. So why not, right? And so, yeah. So we're getting into party favors and stuff like that. So I'm looking for this because you're probably going to see some of these or some variation of it. So rye crackers or something like that, or some sort of bread. I can get some rye bread and beef pastrami is what I would use rather than turkey or whatever's on sale. But yeah, and then shredded Swiss, and then a touch of Thousand Island. I could definitely. We're going to see some of that for canapes or something. You always want to do a little something different. I'm so glad I'm looking through this. Gatherings at Grandma's house. Fiesta cheese. Festive cheese dip. Well, we love cheese. It's cream cheese, right? Cream cheese. Cottage cheese. Okay. Just a twist of mustard. I may leave the Dijon out. Cayenne. What's up with the mango chutney? I'd probably leave that out too. But I'd probably use the rest of it. And then instead of the mango chutney for the crunch, because I'd want to cut out the sweetness, because a lot of my people, we want to cut out sweetness. Maybe what I would do is I would get some freshwater chestnuts. The canned water chestnuts, not fresh, but canned water chestnuts, and drain off the fluids and then chop them up finely and put them in. And that's the variation I would do with that. I love this. What is this? Smoked salmon ball. Um, here's the thing. And it's probably very tasty and delicious as an appetizer and everything, but it's fish. And so I don't know that, like, I wouldn't want this to be sitting out for too long. Softened cream cheese, dried minced onion, tablespoon, dash of parsley. I can get some horseradish. I love liquid smoke. And in lieu of liquid smoke, I would use a kitchen bouquet, um, and garlic powder, salt, and 1 can of boneless salmon. Get real. Um, I would use real salmon. Thank you very much. I could use this as a stuffing to rest on top of a freshly cooked salmon. And then, I could use those flavorings for a salmon for a treatment of the salmon, but I don't know that I would do this. Every once in a while, you come across that can of like jack mackerel salmon or something like that. You probably could do. You probably could use a can for that for this. But what's getting me here is the chopped pecans. I live in Shreveport, Louisiana. We have a great pecan season. I can get pecans, but if not, yeah, I could see this. I'm gonna put that in the okay. Maybe this is the yeah. I'll try it out sometime. Um. Oh hell no. I don't need a recipe card to tell me how to make bread cups, and there's no way I'd ever do that whole mushroom thing. Maybe if somebody was just really into some mushrooms. I don't really care for mushrooms. Let's see. Let me grab a small stack of these and go through them. I will say, for the most part, my pile of I would try is bigger than my pile of what the fuck, you know. But they do love to stuff a mushroom. The only way I wouldn't make this for myself, I'd make this for somebody if they were coming over or something like that. But it's like basically souped up stovetop stuffing and a mushroom, probably. Let's see. Mushrooms, blah, 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 celery, of course. Cubed ham, okay. Breadcrumbs. All right. You're going to find that a lot of these are going to give suggestions as to products, and some of them may be around, and some of them may be antiquated. But this was basically meant to sell food products, you know. Um, I would use this, but I would not use the mushroom. I'd end up stuffing something else. I don't know what. I would use the stuffing mix, but I'm going to still put it in that I'm not going to use pile. But I would use the stuffing for something else. I'd mix it up and use it as kind of this is the ham. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Honey, popcorn, Chex mix. Yeah, I would do this. I would, yeah, whatever. Um, okay. Waikiki meatballs. I definitely would do this, but I'd switch it up. Waikiki. Wakakaka. Okay, ginger. I like it, but I know that I can accomplish the same flavors and textures with other things. Um, Even taking uh, a preserve and cutting down like a fruit, like a jarred fruit preserve, uh, and then putting a little bit of heat to it, like just a touch of red pepper or something like that into it, and then taking the meatballs and putting them in that. It's very simple. I'll keep this as a reminder, but I wouldn't follow this to the letter. But yeah, these are, okay, hell yes. Just for the bacon. I'll read it later. This looks like a fondue cup. Okay, not clam dip. No. Um, I'm gonna put this in the no pile simply because I wouldn't use clam dip. I would do this and make like a cheese fondue or something like that, but technically no. I'm never really gonna do that or use it. Now this, of course, I would, and I have done similar things to that. So that goes there into the wood. I'm getting more. I would try things that I wouldn't. I thought for sure once I got in here, I'd be like, "Ugh." Okay, so my sister kept these recipe cards for many years after my mother passed on. And then one day we were going through some things, and she was like, would you like to have these? Talking to me, that I guess she thought that I would maybe do more with them. And this is something I definitely want to try. Chicken and almond bites. So, how do we do this? Chicken broth, stick of butter, blah, 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 parsley. Do they all mix together? Okay. Blah, 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 blah. And then, so you basically kind of do this. And no, I will not be adding the pimento stuffed sliced green olives to the batter. Hell no. For a Spanish style snack, Grandma used a can of drained oil packed tuna instead of the chicken in this recipe. She called it a topa and said the weather made with chicken. Whose grandmother did this shit? Ugh. Okay. Tuna. I like this with the chicken. I could see shredding a rotisserie chicken for this. Or canned chopped chicken. I get that a lot. Come with me and you'll see chicken in a stock pot. And you'll want to eat it like me. Or whatever. Okay, so even, look, this is just not a very high temperature. I've got this nozzle barely turned on, and with that lid on, it got boiling. So that's just, know your range top. And with the lid on, it's going to hold that heat inside. You don't have to crank your heat all the way up to the hottest to get it hot. And that's good to know. Ceramic coating, and I had done some research up until just this December, like at the end of December going into January, when I ordered the cookware that I'm not using because it's actually up there, not being in use right now. But when I ordered it, I realized that it's not Teflon coated; it is ceramic coated. And then I had to educate myself on that all the way around. I still don't believe it's a good idea to crank the heat up on these things, even though they say you can. I'm just whatever, because it's a coated pan one way or the other. But it doesn't break down the way that Teflon does, and it doesn't get toxic. At high heats, Teflon gets toxic and will kill a bird. Come to think of it, we had when I was very young, we lived in Amelia, Louisiana, in a small single wide trailer, bedroom at each end, and the kids, my sister and I, were real little. But we had these parakeets, and we would hang the parakeet in the living room near the kitchen, sometimes open the door, whatever. And it just seemed, I think we lost about 3 birds. I don't think it was the heat. I don't think it was living in the heat. I think it was the Teflon coating. And then years later we saw this movie, August in Osage County, And Julia Roberts is telling the story about their families getting the parakeets, and the parakeets, or were they parrots or parakeets? I'm thinking parakeets. The tropical birds that live in the tropics, and the birds kept dying. I don't think it was the heat. I think it was Teflon toxicity, because it was a small. Even when you open it, I mean, it's like, that can do it. That can kill your birds, and it would literally. We would be having brought it from the pet store. I don't know where we get the first one. I don't know how, but we called him Petey, right? So Petey, the door was open. I guess we are going to clean the cage, and Petey got out and literally flew out the front door. So that was our first Petey. So we went to the pet store and got another parakeet, and we called him Petey. And Petey died in the kitchen. He wasn't in the kitchen, but the cage was hanging by the back door. He died. We thought it was heat. And anyway, we went and got another one. And then Petey the third. And Petey, he died too. We just, yeah. And now that I did the research, because here's the dark part of me. Here's the part of me that you don't want to fuck with. It was going to happen. I had a situation where I was living in New Orleans, and it wasn't a group home or anything like that. It was just, what you do in New Orleans is that you rent a room, part of a house or whatever. And it was just me renting a room and this other guy, this one weird, crazy guy, with a giant, huge parrot, by the way. And this fucking parrot hated me because, and due to that, he was like the boss. That parrot was the alpha in that relationship with that dude. That dude was that parrot's bitch. But anyway, that parrot, I forget the parrot's name. I forget the dude's name too. All I know is that for a while I was living there, and until he moved out, I started researching ways to kill a parrot and get away with it. I literally, that parrot was gonna fucking die. I'm telling you, and I have no excuse for this way of thinking. I was sober from alcohol. I was not using drugs. All I know is that parrot was one dead ass fucking bird. If I had to keep putting up with it. Eventually they moved out, so I didn't, But I'd go to meetings and I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to kill that bird. And I found out all about Teflon toxicity right then. No one ever said anything to me the whole time we're cooking Teflon, my entire life, Teflon coating. No one ever told me anything about it. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, it is near the 1 hour and 20-minute mark, and you can see the meat is starting to separate. And this is a perfectly done chicken. So what we're going to do, I'm going to turn the heat off. Gonna let this sit on the burner. I'm gonna leave the lid kind of askew, kind of off a little bit, so that so the heat can naturally reduce. Anytime you cook something like this, you need to let it sit and let the juices kind of go back into the meat anyway. But I'm gonna have this chicken with the side of spaghetti, and it is about 7 minutes to midnight. So I'll probably wait for about another half an hour. I'm gonna go back and check out some more recipes. I did not kill the bird. But there is that little part of me that's kind of psychotic. I think I've got it tamed now. I haven't tried to kill anything since that bird. That was an evil fucking bird, though. Birds are just... I know people will be like, and people have their little pet birds and all this kind of thing, but birds really are like vicious. They just have a really. I think even a dove, a wonderful, beautiful, peaceful dove, would fuck you up. Yeah. I don't trust a bird. The only good bird is a bird in a pot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. Fuck that parrot. Okay, anyway. Back over here to the cards. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun going through these and trying some of these out. I really am interested. I'm going to put this to the front of the pile. That chicken and almond bite. Using the chicken and not the tuna. My God. That's like taking a chicken helper and using tuna in the tuna helper instead. Okay, so now these are great. This is very similar to the recipe that you're going to get on the back of a Bisquick box called cheese balls or sausage balls or something like that. Okay, yeah. Biscuit mix. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm pretty sure they lifted this directly from the Bisquick mix. Later recipes suggest that you can add a little bit of milk just to add to the moisture to keep them a little bit moist. I found that, yeah, adding a little bit of just a little bit of milk or cream kind of did make them for one thing. If you're using a biscuit mix, the powdered milk may be in there already, or it may not be. But I do find that with the self-rising mixes that make use of baking powder, such as a Bisquick mix or something like that, that the baking powder, the rising, it's got a double leavening, and one of them is activated by heat, and the other leavening is activated by moisture. So you need the moisture as well. And so, and you just kind of like, you can play around and adjust your ratio of cheese to sausage. But these are great. People love these. I'm going to make them for my party. I'm going to turn this off. Okay, I really do miss my friend Mike, who's out of town, but he's... Okay, so polenta. Love this. Parmesan polenta. So, I'm in the South. We have a thing in the United States, Southern United States, that we have grits. And then I can talk to some people elsewhere, and they're like, what the fuck are grits? Basically, it's a very, very fine cornmeal, or very, very fine meal of hominy corn. That you heat up with water, and that's it. And you season it with a little butter, sometimes a little bit of cream or something like that. But you basically, it's a kind of a porridge. Well, there's an Italian version in which you continue to cook it so that it becomes less of a porridge and more of a thickness like this, so that it's almost a grit cake or something like that, or a little bit of a toast or something like that. And they serve it. It makes a wonderful side dish, and you can do lovely things. You could put little bits of... I love to take it and put like a bolognese sauce over the top of it, or even of a non-meat sauce, but just a marinara. You could do anything, but just, they make a wonderful, like this right here. Put one or two of these on top of a mixed green salad with an Italian dressing, and it would be like an Italian salad or whatever, a little twist on that. This is definitely going in that pile. I love it. Not something I could do every day because of keto, but yeah, it's great. I would keep this basically for the recipe for the pizza dough. No, God, no. The hell would I? Why would I want to do this when I already do it when I go out and buy DiGiorno, and then I make my own? I put my own toppings on top of my DiGiorno. It's there. It's not like a hell no. It's like I'm already doing it. I don't need it in the front of everything. Frozen pizza dough. Chutney is basically fruit, right? Like any sort of a fruit preserve or something. It's like a salsa, but it's made with fruit instead of peppers and onions or whatever. So, keep it as a suggestion. Do you know what I really hate though? Is when people just take like a block of cream cheese and just here's your block of cream cheese, and don't do anything with it. Don't soften or anything. It's just basically cream cheese, and then dump a jar of salsa on top of it. It's like, can you put some fucking imagination into it? I understand simplicity, and if it's in a rush or something like that, but it basically I don't like that. See, this is okay, but when you take a cream cheese, a block of cream cheese, and you just pour salsa over it, it looks like somebody just upchucked all over your cream cheese. Not very good. Tangy chicken nuggets, probably because of the sauce. Hmm. Why not? You never know. Love these. Hell yes. But hell no for the olive. You come to my house, you're gonna get some stuff sans the olives. I do, if I served you olives, it would be out of the jar. I'm not doing, like, and I've done that actually. I'm not like, oh, here's some olives. I'll never eat it. Okay, so this is, we've made something similar that we used to serve on a meze platter, as a Greek platter. We would do like an eggplant spread or an eggplant dip, and then we'd also do a dip of a roasted red pepper that you roast on the stovetop. You have to do it on an open flame though. Can't do it on any other kind of thing. You got to really really get that blackening on there so that you can scrape the inside of the pepper out of the blackening, because that's really what you want. You knock away the blackening and then you mix the rest of it you mash it into a dip, but it won't work unless you get that softened inside and that blackened flavor going through the rest of the red pepper. Um, and then so we had an eggplant spread, and then we did the pepper spread that I just described, and then we also did a tahini, which is basically a hummus that you mix up. That's mashed up chickpeas or garbanzo beans are basically the same thing. And then what you do is you put a little of sunflower seed in it, and then blend it up with a little bit of oil. So I'm loving that. I'll put it there. I mean, it's not something that I'm really gonna do, but I think it deserves to go in a place of honor here versus over there. Um, and of course, who doesn't love a good cheese dip? So right there. Um, let's see. I would do this before I did those bell peppers. I'd have to do, if Tina came over, I'd have to do my sister's partner Tina. I'd have to do the bell. I'd have to use the stuffing mix, but I would have to put them in the mushroom instead of the onion. I would have them in an onion. So maybe I need to put this here and leave this here, and then as a reference, no, I'm going to leave the mushroom over where it belongs. I'm never really going to stuff a mushroom. But if I did, it would be something similar. But so how about this? We were getting sweet and spicy wings way back in the 70s and 80s before buffalo wings were a thing, right? When did the buffalo wing come around? We know the story. Somewhere in Buffalo, New York, uh, uh, the the bartender's son came in with some friends or something like that, and they were having some drinks, and they wanted something quick to eat. So she ran in the back and she mixed up something and put it together, and it was basically meaty chicken wing parts with the dipping sauce, kind of a barbecue variation, and that's the story of the invention or the widespread buffalo wing. But I think she may have gotten the idea, from this. She was a homemaker at one point, I'm sure, and she got a hold of this and whatever. So, and we're like, because it's an appetizer, so it's like, hey, and then an appetizer turn into bar food, and now they're my favorite food because what the hell? That's my thing. Hot peanut dip. Okay, I've had not this. I've had something similar called peanut sauce that I've gotten out of gourmet shops, and I don't really care for it. I find it unnecessary. You could melt down some peanut butter and put a little soy sauce in it and mix your own and stuff like that. But the thing is, once you have this, the only thing you possibly can taste is peanuts for the rest of the meal, unless you're going to go through a palate cleanser with a sorbet or something like that. I'll put it here, but no, I'm not, because it's I would, but I'm never gonna. You know what I mean? But you never say never. Uh, no, just no. Whew. I said this. You remember the Underwood deviled ham? You can do this with your own ham. Why not? Cream cheese puffs for desserts, but why not? Why couldn't you do it with this? I'm gonna go there with it. I got to come up with some fun, creative ideas for. Probably won't be anything as elaborate, but I'm just getting ideas. I don't need this, but whatever. If you can't make breadsticks, it's like you may as well can't. Yeah, I can't make toast. You definitely don't need to fucking cook. Saucy franks and meatballs. Right, right. Something else you can do, a different presentation for those little smokies. I've got my pile of would work with is a lot bigger than uh, would not work with. So I'm pleased about this. But I've got all those to sort through still, but I'm getting hungry. So now I'm going to set this aside and we're going to go taste my food. I'm going to taste my food. Ah, something else. I learned in all my correlating when I need to stop because I'm going through stuff. I can save my place by turning them sides, the same way you would stack papers to keep them separated. Yeah. I remember this one time in second grade, this little girl, Sunshine, our second grade teacher had some papers out and they were alternated like this to keep place for whatever. And she didn't realize it. And so she wanted to straighten the papers to do a favor for the teacher to make them neat. She didn't quite realize. And the teacher just kind of like, just called her up, Miss Graham, just kind of like, why did you do that? And she was like, I was just trying to straighten your papers for you. She thought she was doing a good thing. And she scolded her for messing with her desk and made her re-separate everything. But it's like, you could have explained it nicely. You didn't have to bite her head off and be like, why'd you touch my desk, you little, Miss Graham was kind of that's old school, you would get scolded for shit, like harshly, But Miss Graham, she never went after me with the paddle, but this is one girl, Donna, Donna was kind of a tough girl, but yeah, she got the paddle, and Miss Graham she's one of those ones that would rear back and maybe do a circle to pick up, not quite, but she would like hold that paddle way back and she'd come down and really give you a good, powerful swat with the paddle, much more than was needed and everything like that. But that's how people that's how people raised children back then, And those are the days when everybody tore that ass up. If you got in trouble, you got an ass whooping from just about every adult that knew your name, from the schoolhouse all the way home. Yeah. Everybody got their turn. Okay, let's go check the chicken out. I know. Here we are. And it's basically the same meal that I had, spaghetti with chicken, but it was a rotisserie chicken, half a rotisserie chicken. This is a bigger leg quarter. And of course, you saw that I made this myself. And also, even the spaghetti is different because anyone who's ever eaten spaghetti knows that it tastes better the second night. If you don't know, make spaghetti, put them together, serve it and everything like that, and then put them together in a container and then have them the second night. And oh my God, yes, the spaghetti is always better tasting. Anything is pretty much better the second night around for the most part. I'm sorry. Holy cow. And if you're one of those ones, I don't want to eat leftovers, um, you don't know what you're missing because, oh, anything, especially that flavors mingle better when they rest, everything is better the second the night. But for me, I made it and I had it around midnight, a little before midnight. I probably ate earlier though, but it was close to the actual midnight. This is a little, but it's been about 24 hours. So it's yeah. Oh my god. Because it was a break from keto for me, you know. Mm, very good, very very delicious. Oh, everybody, come check us out in Shreveport, Bossier. Would love to see you. You know, and I'm excited for the G Unit, G Dome that we're supposed to have down here. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Um, we're all about 50 cents G Unit studio, but I know he's got studios in other portions. I think he's got some stuff going on in Houston also. I think I don't know, but yeah, I like I like what's happening downtown. It's kind of like what? It's interesting. It's interesting because we're gonna have that great nightlife situation right in the middle of all the residency because there's a lot downtown mostly right now. It is not nightclubs and dinners, but it's mostly a residential neighborhood. People live in those buildings. Most of us, there's more people that live down here than people who come here for business, really. Uh, so I'm excited to see what's going to be happening. Uh, I really am. Okay. Um, ciao, Bella. Love and light. Bon appetit. God bless and good night.